Welcome to the Explainer. You've probably heard about Python, right? It seems to be everywhere. So what's the big deal? Today we're going to break down what makes this language so popular, and we're going to do it in just about 5 minutes. Let's get into it. Believe it or not, if you've ever made a cup of coffee, you already understand the fundamental logic of programming. I mean, think about it. You gather your resources, the coffee, the water. You follow a sequence of steps, grind, brew, pour, and you get a final output. A program is just a set of instructions like that, but for a computer. So to really get what makes Python so special, you first have to understand its core philosophy, and it all boils down to one word: simplicity. Python's whole deal is that code should be easy to read, almost like plain English. And that's huge because developers spend way more time reading code than writing it. It's also a total Swiss Army knife. You can use it for tiny scripts or massive, complex applications. Plus, it comes batteries included, which means you get this giant toolbox of pre-built code right from the start. Okay, now we're getting to the heart of it. If you remember one single thing from this entire explainer, make it this. In Python, everything is an object. So you see a line of code like this, and your first thought is probably, okay, simple. I've got a variable named age, and I'm sticking the number 42 inside of it. Seems pretty straightforward, right? Well, what's Python actually doing behind the curtain? It's a little more clever than just putting a number in a box. This is where the magic happens. Instead of just a dumb variable, Python creates a smart object. This object knows it's a number, an integer specifically, and it holds the value 42. The word age is just a label, like a name tag, that points to this object. This might seem like a small detail, but it is the absolute key to Python's power and consistency. And here's the kicker. This applies to everything. Numbers, strings of text, lists of items, even the functions that perform actions, they are all objects. This uniform approach is what makes the language feel so intuitive and powerful. And Python hands you this amazing toolbox of object types right from the get-go. You've got different kinds of numbers, text, ordered lists, and super useful things like dictionaries for storing connected data. Each one is a specialized tool for a specific job. And if the standard tools aren't quite enough for a tricky job, no worries. The standard library includes a module called collections, which gives you even more, let's call them superpowered data types for those really specialized tasks. Okay, so we have our data, our objects, but how do we organize our coffee-making steps into a recipe that we can use over and over again? Well, that's where functions come into play. Functions are basically the verbs of your program. They're named blocks of code that do one specific job. By wrapping your logic in a function, you can reuse it whenever you want, which keeps your code clean, organized, and way easier to understand. Just think of it like a mini recipe. It can take in some ingredients, we call those arguments, it performs a series of steps on them, and then it hands you back the finished product, what we call a return value. And Python has these really elegant features that show off its clean design. This thing here is called a decorator. See that @ symbol? It's like adding a turbocharger to your function. You're not changing the function itself, you're just wrapping it with extra power. It's a super clean way to add functionality without cluttering up your code. So, we've got our ingredients, the objects, and we've got our recipes, the functions. Now let's see what people are actually cooking up with Python in the real world. One of the biggest places you'll find Python today is in data science. It's an absolute powerhouse. With incredible libraries like Pandas and Matplotlib, it has become the default language for scientists, researchers, and analysts all over the world. And this shows you why. You can take a mountain of raw data and, with just a handful of Python commands, turn it into a clear, insightful visualization like this. It makes spotting patterns in complex information almost effortless. Python is also a giant in web development, but it's often working behind the scenes. Think of a website like an iceberg. The part you actually see and interact with is just the tip. Python is often the massive foundation under the water, doing all the heavy lifting. A lot of that heavy lifting is done through APIs. These are basically the messengers of the internet, allowing different apps to talk to each other. When your phone needs data from a server, it's using an API, and Python frameworks make building these things incredibly fast and efficient. But Python isn't just for servers and hidden data analysis. It can also build the graphical apps you use on your computer every day, the ones with windows and buttons that you actually click on.
Yep, using tools that come standard with Python, you can build full-blown desktop applications. And the best part? You write the code once and it can run on Windows, Mac, and Linux. No extra work needed. Pretty cool.
All right, let's pull all of this together. Why has Python become this dominant force in the programming world? It really comes down to a killer combination of three things. First, a simple philosophy focused on readability. Second, a powerful and consistent model where everything is an object. And third, an incredibly versatile toolkit that can tackle just about any problem you throw at it. And that's our quick look at Python. It gives you the philosophy, the building blocks, and the tools to create amazing things. So the only question left is, what will you build with it?